Decentralized. Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, 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 decentralized. Oh, open your eyes.
Welcome to today's episode of Decentralized TV. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Decentralized TV, joined today by our co-host, Todd Pittner. Welcome, Todd. Great to have you on the show again today.
Greetings, Mike. Yes, good to see you. Really looking forward to our guest. The last time that we spoke with him was the end of last year.
Oh,
and,
wow.
it was very transformational for me because that was the first time in my life that I realized that silver had this giant industrial use.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
that totally changed my investment strategy, as our guest knows here today. But let's bring him in.
Well, but let's pop quiz the viewers. See my background. It's got dollars. Can you do a wide shot of the you see the dollars?
There you go.
You see the dissolving
melting?
currency.
Yeah, they're melting.
They're melting currency. And Trump has announced that there's going to be a 1 ounce gold coin with his face on it that's going to be released by the Treasury. And I have to introduce our guest today by putting out the joke. That will be the only gold coin in history that's worth more when you melt it. So welcome, Andy Schectman.
Hey, good to see you, Todd and Mike. Good to see you guys, and appreciate the invite. Yeah, it's ironic, too. Today is the day that they just released their 250th anniversary gold 1 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and silver medallions. I've been working with the U.S. Mint for a very long time. I've been an authorized reseller for over 15 years. I started this company in 1989. The Mint was founded in 86. I've never seen anything like this, ever, where they put this big of a premium on something. Today they just started selling, I'm sure it's probably sold out by now, the 1 ounce silver medallion. It's like the Liberty Bell, $19,500.
What?
An ounce?
What?
Yes.
Wait.
Did
you say, no, you just said silver.
The silver is $750.
Okay. But the gold is how much?
$19,500 for 1 ounce of gold, and the 1/2 ounce is like $9,500. If you go to usmint.gov, you'll see it, and it's limited edition. They only made 2,026 of them. They just started issuing them about 2 hours ago.
Well, I don't want one at that price.
But it's really interesting when you look at that, and then there's always a line of conspiracy and reality, because you got all these $20,000 strike prices on December call options,
right?
Millions of dollars worth. People say, who would do that? Was the Mint foreshadowing this? You got people saying, could it be gold revaluation? I don't know, but I've never seen the Mint issue something that far outside of what the real value is, and nor have I ever seen options selling for millions of dollars worth of options that are that far outside the money. And it's weird. There's a lot of weirdness going on right now, for sure.
So, Andy, I can never out Mike, so I don't even try anymore. So I actually have to research the guests and the current events and everything. So excuse me if I read a couple of questions to you, Andy, throughout the interview. But apparently, gold's greatest industrial use is detecting bullshit in the monetary system. Andy, during recent interviews, you say that gold and silver are being repriced. What are they being repriced against? The dollar, global debt, central banking credibility, all three?
Well, I don't know if it's how much it's being repriced as much as it's being reintegrated into the system. That ultimately will reprice it. You're looking, for example, at the new exchange that just went live, or the new settlement system that just went live in Hong Kong on Tuesday, where it's immediate same-day settlement. Same thing in Dubai, same-day settlement. Similar in Singapore, where price is trying to match delivery, where price discovery is far more of a reality when it's cash and carry than it is a futures market. But yes, I think what you are basically seeing with the central bankers buying in a very inelastic manner. They don't care about price. They don't care about CPI. They don't care about labor numbers. They're buying nonstop because of the realization, to your point, that there's just too much global debt that has been issued. And ultimately, that debt becomes a problem, a big problem when you're with the world reserve currency. And so, yeah, I think gold kind of is, you're right, it does sense out bullshit, but it also senses out and seeks out real return. In other words, the nominal return that we are given on a bond, as an example, a 10-year Treasury paying 4% or just under. When you talk nominal, that's 4%. When you talk real, when you add in inflation, and the inflation numbers that we are being fed are a big lie. And so your negative real return is in essence what gold is sniffing out. It's sniffing out the real return in an environment where inflation is far higher than we are being quoted, are being told, and where debt is becoming a bigger problem than those that are at the top will admit.
So Andy, you mentioned Shanghai, and I really want your take. I'm really curious because it's very clear to me that China is moving in a persistent manner to effectively bypass the Western paper pricing of precious metals, piece by piece. And this actually is sort of, I think, making true elements of what you began talking about years ago with the BRICS nations. So part of that BRICS rollout is the taking, or let's say freeing gold and silver pricing from the manipulations of the West. One of those, as I understand it, is that July 24th in China, the retail investors, not the institutional investors, but the retail investors can no longer trade in paper. They can't, short. They can't manipulate markets through shorts, calls, and those kinds of paper options. And I understand the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the SGE, is setting up a 10x expansion of its storage facility near the Hong Kong airport. That tells me and you a lot of important things. Can you speak to us about what's happening?
Yeah, so the reason it's important to put it in Hong Kong is that when gold leaves China, it has to leave Hong Kong. Can't come out of Shanghai, it has to come out of Hong Kong. And the rails that they are setting up, the CIPS, the Cross Interbank Payment System, the M-Bridge, both of which are operational now. M-Bridge is more of a pilot. CIPS is fully operational. CIPS is the Cross Interbank Payment System. They just signed up the countries in Southeast Asia. ASEAN is their acronym, ASEAN, and they represent 800 million people, twice the population of the West. They're China's biggest trading partner by far. These countries will have the ability to trade in commerce their own local currencies, settle in balances in gold. And if you are, for example, buying something from China and accepting digital yuan, right now the yuan is immediately convertible into gold without converting into dollars through the Shanghai Exchange, taking possession in Hong Kong. Now, as the trend goes, their aspirations are to build a series of vaults in multi-jurisdictional territories. There are various reports that say they've also just completed one in Saudi Arabia, or it's near completion. Dubai is next on their list, along with London and Switzerland, and then throughout the entire Belt Road Initiative. But there is now a series of vaults in already Dubai, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Singapore, Mumbai, Brazil, St. Petersburg, Moscow, and soon to be the BRICS vaults that will all be the arteries of a new system, trading on the rails of these cross-border payment systems, which would be like the veins, that are not compatible with SWIFT. And instead of settling in balances in things like U.S. Treasuries, it will be done in gold, which has not only doubled the performance of the Treasury for 25 years, 10x'd it over the last 2, has no counterparty risk if it's in your own possession. And we have shown the world that just what kind of risk holding U.S. Treasuries presents if you're on the wrong
Right.
side of our agenda. So that's exactly what is happening in the Global South. And what they are trying to do, to your point, only those entities that use hedging for legitimate business purposes will be allowed to do so. The public will not be, but is incentivized to own physical through state-sponsored accumulation programs.
Right.
And so they're prodding their citizenry to own the physical, stop speculating. It's the same thing they're doing on their exchanges with immediate same-day settlement. What's different, you guys, is that these were all places that you could get gold and whatnot, but they all worked off of one price, the Western price. So COMEX would set the price. What they are now doing is setting their own price. And that's a big deal.
That makes total sense because China, I think China is the largest consumer of silver, for example, for industrial use, right?
And they're the second largest producer in the world as well.
Valid point. So why should the largest buyer be paying prices that are set by some other country somewhere that's heavily manipulated?
Well,
the largest buyer should have the leverage to be involved in the pricing or the price discovery.
Now, here's a good point to that. I agree totally, Mike. And you know, you're always way ahead of the ball. You're a smart guy, and I agree with you. That is the ultimate end game. But the bigger question is, why have they not bitched all this time? Because they've been using it against us. In other words, they knew what we've been doing, so let's beat them at their own game. Let's short it too and stand for physical delivery. We will use the own stupidity of the West against them.
True.
If they want to suppress the paper price, let them do it, and we'll just buy it hand over fist. Now, when you talk about how much are the central banks buying, it's an interesting statistic that the first quarter of this year was the most gold ever purchased in one quarter, first quarter of any year ever. But the interesting thing is that the World Gold Council came out and said, you guys are all lying bastards because you say you bought 16 tons, you actually bought 15 times that. Import-export numbers show the central banks bought 240 metric tons, not the 16. But that even doesn't take into account like the People's Liberation Army. If they buy gold on behalf of China, they don't have to report it, and reporting is voluntary anyway. But what we are beginning to see is a pattern that central banks are buying a lot more than they're telling us, and they're keeping it much
Andy,
closer to the vest.
Isn't this just the latest in a long series of at least 20 months of central bank buying that shows a consistent pattern, not a one-off spike, but a consistent pattern of accumulation by China?
Accumulation and at very peculiar times. As an example, the most silver ever purchased in the history of the country in one quarter, first quarter of this year, as the price was getting carjacked. How about here in the United States? $20 billion worth of gold, 4.1 million ounces of gold at roughly $5,000 an ounce in February, delivered here on COMEX. Now, not all of it left, right? A lot of it stayed on COMEX. I have my own feelings on that, which we can discuss if you want, who would be doing that and not taking it off. But to those that are concerned about metal being taken off, some has been taken off. You look at what happened in February again on COMEX, 26 million ounces were delivered. This is 20 straight months of same thing happening here in COMEX. Since Trump won the election, every single month there's been 9 or 10 figures, billions worth of gold and silver delivered. Now, delivered doesn't mean leaving. Could be moved into the eligible category. Just as a footnote, Miles Franklin controls 9 Brinks facilities through North America. One is COMEX facility, Brinks, New York. I have one lady with 2 million ounces and 1,000-ounce silver bars in the eligible category in our Brinks program in New York. Not for sale at any price. They're an eligible category. They're eligible to be registered, but they're not. Registered backs the bars. So when someone takes massive deliveries onto COMEX, it doesn't have to leave. It can go into an eligible category. It's sitting in a Loomis or a Brinks facility in their own name, right? I ask yourself before I finish this statement, who would not care leaving it there? In fact, would realize if we take it out, it's going to create a bigger problem. People will notice. Let's just stand for delivery and set it there. Who's got $14 billion to stand for delivery gold in June last month? $14 billion. Who had 20? In February. But going back to February, 26 million ounces delivered on the COMEX of silver. It was a non-delivery month for silver. Every other month is. They can still stand for delivery, but not a major delivery month would have been January and March. February, 26 million ounces delivered, 39 million ounces or 160% of what deliveries could explain alone, got on a truck or trucks and left. That's 2.9 million pounds worth of silver got on an armada of semi-trucks and drove away. Who's buying it as the price is getting its teeth kicked in?
Well, it's the Treasury or the Fed. I mean, come on. Who else has those
well,
kind of
that's
deep
what
pockets?
I think. Not only those deep pockets. There are a lot of people who will push back against me in this industry and say, well, but the numbers aren't falling off of COMEX. They're staying relatively stable. Now, they went way up at the beginning of the year, inventory numbers, and then fell way down as a lot of that metal left. Some went to China. There's been 6 straight months of exports to China, our largest export. Why? Well, one is to set up this new exchange. 2 is because they're the arbitrage where there's an $11 or $12 or $13 premium for a 1 full year already in Shanghai, telling the traders in the West, hey, dummies, send us your silver, we'll pay you $12 an ounce more. You can deliver it on what's called an exchange for physical contract to Brinks, Hong Kong, where it's a Brinks program there. It is COMEX, and they'll pick it up by truck and bring it to Shanghai. You just made $120 million on the 10 million ounces you gave us. Go buy a new yacht. Have a nice day. That's happening. $85, $90 premium to the Western price in gold. They're siphoning and arbitraging and standing for delivery for whatever they can over there. But by the same token, if it were actually for national security, oh, that's right. Silver is for national security, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's right, because it's a critical mineral. And who runs the Exchange Stabilization Fund? Oh, that's Scott Bessent. Doesn't he understand gold? That's right, he does, because it was his largest holding when he ran Soros's hedge fund, and he's a self-proclaimed gold bug. Did you see him on Jesse Waters the other night? Talking gold and silver. He gets it. So what if he said, all right, guys, well, we already know silver's for national security. I think gold is for national security, too. So we're going to stand for delivery for $14 billion worth of gold in June and $20 billion worth in February, and for that matter, billions worth every single month. But we're going to poo-poo anyone who squawks about this, and we're just going to say it's the banks trading warrants with one another, which it's really not, because no one ever stood for delivery, right? They would trade paper, they would cash settle, they would roll forward, or they would exit the position. That's my experience for 35 years. And now they're all standing for delivery, but it's not leaving COMEX. So what? Who would care less than the Treasury? What is COMEX going to screw the Treasury? No. So the Treasury says, look, if we pull it off, everyone's going to freak out. So we'll have it delivered. It will stay in J.P. Morgan's. When Blythe Masters was interviewed, she ran J.P. Morgan's trading desk for metals a long time ago, and they said, why is J.P. Morgan buying all this metal? And she said, we don't buy it. We never buy it. It's purchased for clients. The CME group, the COMEX, has on their website, we do sell to and do business on behalf of central banks. So why not have a proxy entity like JP Morgan, Citi, and Goldman, and Bank of America to keep you at arm's distance so that they don't see it's the U.S. government's footprints in the snow, and we'll leave it on COMEX because if people see millions and millions and millions and millions of ounces leaving, well, that's going to create a problem. I see the same thing happening with Tether and gold on the other side of the equation, which we can get to if you'd like. But the bottom line is, to me, these deliveries are 4 feet of snow in Death Valley in July. It just doesn't happen. It's never happened. It's an anomaly. And if it did, you would not see snowmobile dealerships popping up and down the highway in Death Valley because it's an anomaly. They know that. And so whoever is standing for delivery realize if we deliver, great, it's in the possession of the banks on our behalf. We're at arm's length. If we take it off, just like I'm saying, who the hell took 39 million ounces of silver off? 3 million pounds worth of silver in February as it got its teeth kicked in. If we do that too much, then everyone will know it's us. So let's just leave it there for a while.
Okay, so Andy, and I'm sorry, Todd, I know you have questions, but I've just got one more follow-up here. So somebody in the U.S., probably under the command of Bessent, is scrambling to acquire physical metal. Also, China is scrambling to acquire physical metal. Yes. Both of them are anticipating some major event, possibly a revaluation, maybe on Bessent's side, possibly a revaluation. Although, the rumor about Judy Shelton on July 4th, that day didn't didn't happen doesn't mean that the concept itself isn't viable. It still is viable. And Besant, I believe when he was just touring Fort Knox on the news the other day, he said all the gold is accounted for, and didn't he say it's worth $1 trillion or something? That's
At
not the
current rate.
$42 that's on the books on the Treasury, is it?
Correct.
So in his mind, he's already valuing at the much higher current market rate, isn't he?
Yes, he should market to market, and
Yeah.
every $4,000 increase would give the Treasury General Account $1 trillion free and clear.
Exactly.
So he should. It's valued at 42.22. Judy's idea is the best I've ever heard. To this day, I've interviewed her twice. I read her book. I watched her everything on X. I watched her interviews. She said to me, Andy, in no uncertain terms, when I was on the transition team, Trump told me that July 4th was the biggest day of his presidency, the 250th anniversary, and I believe there is a high probability that he will issue gold-backed treasuries on July 4th. The fact that he didn't isn't the issue. And I still think to this day it's the finest idea, because what it would allow us to do, if done properly, would be to reinstill credibility into the Treasury market. And it would allow for not a gold-backed currency, but a gold-backed Treasury, meaning the argument that the politicians have is, well, you'll neuter monetary ability. Well, no, you won't, because we're not backing the currency, we're backing the Treasury. You can be as stupid as you want with monetary policy and as irresponsible as you want with fiscal policy, but if you do, the bondholders will benefit disproportionately. That's what she is saying. Now, I think the key to all of this, and I think they still may do it, is Tether, and it is the Genius Act. Because the Genius Act goes into effect next January, no matter what. It's already law. And you look at USA Tether, which is already Genius Act compliant. Who is the CEO of USA Tether? None other than Bo Hines, who was Trump's crypto czar through last August. It's his confidant. It's no different than Stephen Mirren stumbling into the vacated spot at the Fed, who wrote the Mar-a-Lago Accord.
And there was
So
just
you
an
have-
announcement out of the White House. Trump said we're going to clear out any unnecessary regulation on crypto.
Right. So these
Todd,
things are...
think about the implications, Todd, of that.
These things are beginning to happen, right? So, but you take a look at what that would mean with Tether. So,
Yeah, right.
you know, a lot of people don't know what the Genius Act does, but it basically says anytime money moves from next January forward, period, if it's in US dollars, it will be backed by stablecoin, instant settlement. Those stablecoins are backed by US Treasuries,
Right.
90-day or less in duration, which means, number one, you've created some massive synthetic demand for the front end of the curve, which neuters the dual mandate of the Fed, right? They can only move the front end of the curve. So you've just neutered their ability to mess with interest rates of any, they got a big, shall we say, impediment to doing that, because when money moves, I don't care if it's a pack of cigarettes or a new house, your treasuries are created. And those treasuries will lower interest rates. But the interesting thing about it is that those interest rates are not transferable to the holder of the stablecoin. If I owe Todd $1,000 and I send him $1,000, when I do so next January, a stablecoin will be created, backed by short-term treasuries, 90-day or less. When Todd receives that money instantly, the stablecoin is burned. The interest on that treasury purchase is not transferable to Todd or myself. It's held by the issuer, like USA Tether, the largest issuer of treasuries outside the government and the largest holder of gold in the world outside of central banks. They bought more over the last 2 or 3 years than anyone in the world but the Central Bank of Poland. Before we go, remind me to read something to you that the head of the Polish Central Bank just said, but they've been buying more gold than anybody. Now, what does rising gold really do? Well, it devalues the dollar, right? When Roosevelt confiscated gold, he paid everyone $20.67 for their $20 worth of gold. 67 cents was a crap load of money. When dozen eggs were a nickel in 1933, everyone was happy. Then he immediately devalued the dollar by 40%, making gold 35 bucks. You want to devalue something, you don't do it against a basket of currencies that are constantly devaluing against the dollar, i.e. Triffin's dilemma, which I'll just go over again in a moment. But what you do is you devalue it against the one neutral asset by which you can measure anything arbitrarily, gold. And so Tether is the key to this, and as far as I'm concerned. But remember, Triffin's dilemma says you want to reshore and reindustrialize, like he keeps talking about. How do you reshore manufacturing and reindustrialize? You can't right now. And as a footnote, I remember when the Swiss joined the European Union, or did not join the European Union, and they said, don't worry, everything will be fine. Our business was related to Swiss francs back then, you guys, and I told everyone, sell your francs right now and buy gold right now, because there is no way that they have to peg their Swiss franc to the European Union unofficially. Why? Because they're an export nation that sells everything to the countries around them, a little tiny small country, an export nation, and everyone around them are their customers. So at some point, if you have to convert to an expensive Swiss franc, are you going to maybe forego the sweetness of the chocolate and buy it from Belgium, or the accuracy of the Swiss watches and buy it from France because you have to convert to a super high Swiss franc first? This is Triffin's dilemma as it pertains to the reserve currency. It says that the world needs more dollars than we can provide through trade alone. Like Cambodia, we don't do much trade with them. So they have to sell their currency to buy dollars, which creates a massive discrepancy over time. Someone gets the idea to send their manufacturing to Cambodia to make 10x what they do here. This is how you hollow out manufacturing. And the knucklehead Jared Bernstein, who used to be the lead economic advisor to the Biden administration, I call him a knucklehead because you may remember him trying to explain how treasuries were made. It was a humiliating thing. Remember that guy?
I do remember that.
And, well, he wrote a report called Dethrone King Dollar. Says we can't be the reserve currency anymore. Triffin's dilemma has hollowed out our manufacturing. And you know what? Vice President Vance has talked about this a lot. Even on White House letterhead, wrote about it, citing Triffin's dilemma. So if you want to reshore manufacturing and reindustrialize the country, and why do you have to? Because we're broke, we're 40 trillion in debt, we make nothing, Triffin's dilemma, we've offshored our manufacturing, we are uneducated. As Ray Dalio recently said, 60% of the country has a literacy rate below that of the 6th grade.
60% of the country doesn't know what 60% of the country means.
Right, and then just in time for AI, you know, Ken Griffith, the big hedge fund guy, he just wrote a report a couple weeks ago saying he came back home from visiting his main office, I think in Connecticut, very sad. He said, I'm very frightened for this, you know, for the financial industry, because I was watching in my office right now, this isn't in the future, this is right now, I was watching AI do better and faster problem solving than what I'm paying my analysts 7 figures a year to do. This is happening right now. So you got all of these things happening. How do you bring back manufacturing? How do you pay off debt? How do you do anything in this environment where we're uneducated, we're broke, we're insolvent, and AI is here to change the world? So the idea is, how do you bring back manufacturing? Well, you have to soft default on the reserve status. You have to. How do you do that?
That's true.
You let gold go to the moon. How do you do that? Well, first, you have to reshore a bunch. We've seen that constantly. We see all this gold being delivered to COMEX. Who's doing it? Shh, don't tell anyone, right? But it's not leaving COMEX, Andy. Shh, don't tell anyone. Maybe the government doesn't care. How about this? How about we tell Tether who was being investigated by the Justice Department? Remember that? What happened to that? Well, they did one for sure. They let him into the back end. How do we know that? Well, because look what Tether just did to the IRGC. Besant got up on stage and said, we just found 4 wallets attached to the IRGC that Tether helped us identify, and we have blackballed them at the smart contract level. In other words, they're programmable. If you piss someone off, they're going to blackball your money, you're out. They already have KYC, KYT, and AML technology. KYC, who are you, Todd? AML, Todd, where'd you get your money? And KYT, know your transaction. Todd, what are you buying? They know who you are, where you got your money, what you're buying, and now they're programmable, and they let the feds into the backside of it, where if you do something wrong, you're blacklisted, and you can't even pull them out of your wallet. They're at the smart contract level. So that's one thing they did. But what if, along with inserting Beau Hines, Trump's confidant, into the mix, they said, you are going to buy gold with all of that interest? Well, aren't they the largest purchaser of gold out of anyone in the world but the Central Bank of Poland over the last few years? Yes, they are. And what does rising gold do? Well, it devalues the dollar and pushes gold much, much, much higher. That could eventually be sold quietly to the Treasury, but this is arm's length proxy. We're not buying it, it's Tether for their own balance sheet, right? But what if that gold made its way back to the Treasury? Now, this is where it would really do well for Judy's idea of backing the long end of the bond market with gold. And you know, do you know that Van Eck funds just came? But either way, even if Judy's deal isn't there, you let gold go to the moon without having to synthetically revalue it. We call this organically, but even though it's by its very nature, it's synthetic. But organically, the price goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher because Tether and the other momos that they have doing it for them put all the money into gold, push the gold price higher, devalue the dollar, makes paying off the debt much easier, allows you to reshore manufacturing by soft defaulting on the dollar and making it easier to sell your products to the world in a devalued dollar. But if Judy was right, Van Eck funds, not Andy Schectman, Van Eck funds said if the dollar really did lose reserve status, they just came out and said this, their emerging bond market fund team, gold could go to $139,000. That's what they said. Okay, that's if you take a $20 million bond that you're selling in 20 years with zero coupon, as Judy said, and you just have to pay the gold in 20 years. Right now, that's 5,000 ounces of gold, but at $139,000 an ounce, 20 million divided by 139,000 is 144 ounces of gold in 20 years. So you let gold go higher, 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 higher. You devalue the dollar, and then you would back it to the back end of the Treasury market and make paying off your debt easier. But at the zero coupon lending number, you have no upfront borrowing costs to reshore state-of-the-art manufacturing and train your people. Could it happen? Sure. Even without it, I think it's the best idea I've ever heard, Judy's idea.
Oh, okay.
But even without it, Tether alone could make it much easier to actually have a chance to grow our way out of this problem.
I need to ask Todd to take over the show because I need to go place a gold order right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Go ahead, Todd.
No kidding. Well, Andy, I think I want to ask you about silver. Silver has two settings, it seems: ignored and completely freaking unhinged, right? And so let's rewind back to the first quarter. And we had you as a guest on the end of last year. And just admittedly, I woke up and I'm like, I need to stack some silver. And I started to. But it was so crazy to me. As the price was increasing, it was like the premiums became insane. Can you educate us on why that dynamic? Because it just seemed unintuitive to me that, the more it was valued at, the greater the premiums. Was it just harder to get or what?
It's a function of supply and demand. But really, the reason the premiums went up this time, you need to understand, and this is a really important question because the market got perverted in ways I've never seen before in 36 years. I'm going to try and set the stage for you because this is probably the most important thing for the stacking community to understand. First and foremost, the Bank of International Settlements, the most powerful bank in the world, came out and said, that the fall in the price of metals had nothing to do with fundamentals. It was all structural. It was, in essence, synthetic, and it was orchestrated. So just keep that in mind. All right, so there were 3 things or 4 things that happened along the way that created a massive problem. Number one, the price kept going higher and higher and higher and higher, right? And so one of the things that we saw going into this rally, in conjunction with NVIDIA and AI stocks going parabolic at the same time, is that much of the public sold into this rally. It's the first time I've ever remembered price going higher where there was more selling than buying, ever. I've never seen that, right? So this was being driven first and foremost by the central banks and by the speculators on COMEX, not by guys like you. And so there was a lot of selling. So the dealers were buying all of this product, right, as the price was going higher and higher and higher. But along the way, the CME group kept raising margins higher and higher and higher, where you have to post more money to hedge an inventory than ever before. And in December, as the price is going crazy, it cost me, as an example, we would normally have 2 million ounces of silver in the warehouse, $15,000 to hedge 5,000 ounces. That money sits in a margin account, just as collateral, right? So you don't have to do anything with it. It just sits there as collateral for your trade, for your inventory. If you're a speculator, if you got 110,000 in your margin account back then at 15,000 a pop, you could own 7 contracts. It would be 105,000 margin. Each contract is 5,000 ounces. You control 25,000 ounces with 105,000 in your margin account. They incrementally raise those margins. CME Group noted, I mean, the BIS noted this. The CME Group raised them about 35% a pop up until the first week of January. It was $54,000 to hedge that same $5,000 contract. Now we need $50 million in a margin account in order to hedge 2 million ounces. It's insanity. And if you don't post it within 24 hours, bam, they unwind your position, selling, begets selling, begets selling. If you're the guy who had $105,000 in your account and now it's $54,000 for those 7 contracts, now you need $378,000. And if you don't have it, or you have to sell a bunch of contracts to get in line with margin requirement, selling begets selling begets selling. So that's the first thing. Massive margin increases. Second thing, public massively selling into the rising price. Third thing, the first week in January is notoriously tumultuous for commodity-backed ETFs and the commodity complex in general, as ETFs must rebalance according to their prospectus mandate. And so with silver and gold going way higher every week into the end of the year, first week in January, they all had to rebalance. Massive selling on top of massive margin increases, on top of the public selling into the market, on top of the 2026 allocations coming due for all the dealers. What does that mean? Well, you got to buy, if you are a high up on the food chain as we are, you need to buy American Eagles in all 4 sizes, 1/2, 1/4, 1/10. You got to buy Gold Buffaloes, you got to buy Silver Eagles, you got to buy Maples in all the different sizes, Krugerrands, Philharmonics, Kangaroos, Britannias, plus the bars from the Royal Canadian Mint. You got to buy all this stuff to remain relevant. You spend millions. If you're not hedging, as the price is either going up or down, you're way off sides before the check you write out to someone for selling the stuff even clears.
Right.
And if you do hedge, your price just to do that went up 300%, right? And you're choking on inventory. So what happened was spreads had to get outsized, and because there was far too much cost, far too much volatility, and then it also blew up all of the refiners, because the refiners, if they take in $25 million worth of silver doré and flatware and junk silver and all this stuff they're melting down, it takes time to melt it down, it takes time to turn it into shot and then into bars and rounds. Well, in those 4, 5, 6 weeks, they have to hedge their position. They paid out $25 million, will sell $25 million. As the price kept going up and up and up and up, their short position, because they're long in inventory, they go short on COMEX to be market neutral. The price was going up so fast that their short positions were getting hammered. They're getting margin called all the time, on top of margin rates going higher and higher and higher and higher. What you had was a perfect storm that I've never seen in 36 years that decimated this industry through rising margin costs, selling by the ETFs to rebalance according to the prospectus, by the public selling, by the 2026 allocations, and the massive volatility had to have put companies who don't hedge out of business, many of them. And so premiums widened to an nth degree, not only because of demand, which was probably even not as strong as anywhere near as people selling, but it was the ramifications of all of these things hitting at once that created very dangerous position for companies like mine. And in fact, I'll give you an example of what I mean by dangerous. Sorry, I'm battling a cold that I got at Rick Rule's conference. I think half the conference got sick the last few days. We had one, and it was my fault. I'm going to take blame for this in case the client is listening. The guy ordered $10 million of junk silver from me. And I bought $10 million worth of junk silver from a couple of distributors. And I had some, but I had to buy more. And he sent me an email right away, which I didn't see, saying, I only meant for it to be 5. Well, I couldn't return the 5 million. I couldn't. I had to hang on to it. And then within a few days, bam, price collapses. I'm hedged in silver, but what happened to the premiums? They collapsed too. It cost me a lot of money, a lot. And people don't understand that. You know, they look at this industry and think, well, you're just buying product and selling it. No, we're not. We hedge the metal content, we cannot hedge that premium. And so as the market moves and premiums fluctuate, During the pandemic, I would have paid you $9 over spot for any amount of junk silver you would sell me. At the height of this drawdown, you would have got $10 back a spot for it. I've never seen anything like it, ever. Because if you're not hedging and the price is falling that fast, if you're not way back a spot, you're dead in the water. If you buy it and the price goes against you. If you are hedging, your cost just went up 300%. There's a lot of risk for dealers in this market when you can't hedge premium in a volatile premium market. So I know it's a very long-winded answer, Todd, but it's important for people
it's a
to
great
understand.
answer. What do you mean? I'm curious. What do you mean by it decimated this industry? What has been the fallout?
The fallout, I'm sure a lot of companies went bankrupt.
Okay.
And you know, because you end up on the wrong side of these positions, you're in very big trouble. Could that have been what happened to Rosalind Capital? I don't know. They're a bunch of crooks, but could it have been what happened to them? Sure, they could have been on the wrong side of commitments. I doubt it, as that they stole $60 million and have nothing to show for it. The metals weren't even purchased. But what it really means is the cost of doing business got exponentially higher and more dangerous. And if you
during that time, Andy,
yes,
I mean, and this is a serious question because I know just engaging with you how nuts it was. I mean, literally, what were you down to? 4 hours of sleep a night?
I've gotten used to that, to be honest with you. My wife and I talk about this all the time. Since COVID, it's just been a whirlwind. 18-hour days are not unusual for me. And my son said to me, who works for me, and he came in town for Rick's conference, rules conference here, he said to me after the conference, where I'd worked all day, I came home and I had to prepare for my speech, and I'm writing and I'm getting sick, and it's been 15 hours. So you're just an animal. And I said, well, someone's got you. You'll never accuse me of not working hard. And he left the room, and I looked at my wife and I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Am I working too hard? Am I missing moments with my family? Am I putting my health in danger, or is it a good thing? Am I showing my family that nothing ever came easy to me? We come from nothing. My family comes from nothing. Mm-hmm. And that you have to work that hard. But I will tell you that in the past 5 years, 14 to 18-hour days, 5 days a week, throughout the pandemic, throughout the banking crisis, throughout things like this, are not unusual if you want to be relevant. And then on top of that, I have to read and study as much as you two guys do, just so you don't make a fool of yourself when you're talking to the public the way we do. But it's worth it, and I wouldn't skip it ever, and I would do it all again. And the best part about it, thank God, I've never woke up on a Monday morning saying, man, I got to go to work again today. I'm always excited to wake up and see what the world has in store for us. And so, but yes.
Andy, we have breaking news here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We all feel the same way about work ethic and having a purpose in life. Thank you for sharing that with us. Breaking news, Russia, China, and 27 other nations have just signed the World Organization for AI Cooperation Agreement. So this is pretty much all the BRICS nations.
Are we part of this agreement?
The United States is not part of this. This is an effort to bypass U.S. technological dominance in the AI space. So this is parallel with having an alternative price discovery system for metals. This is an alternative to the parallel to like the SWIFT system. Having a settlement system outside of SWIFT and outside of the dollar.
Yeah.
So now they have declared they're going to promote and build and share information across all these countries to develop their own semiconductors, their microchips, AI models, AI inference. They're going to promote open source models with each other and intellectual property in microchip manufacturing.
Wow.
This is a huge deal. This will involve, of course, silver, which is involved in semiconductors and microprocessors and data centers. This will create a very strong competition with current U.S. dominance in the AI space. This is going to take away the current near monopoly in the AI space from the U.S. So Andy, I'm just curious your thoughts. Hearing this is breaking news. What are your immediate thoughts?
it doesn't surprise me one bit at all. And I, they do things in a manner that is regimented. It is well thought out. It is, the reason most people dismiss the BRICS is because there's no immediate gratification. It's instant gratification is not fast enough for people in this country anymore. They aren't able to see that the chess pieces are being put up in a manner that will be very, very difficult to challenge. And this is just another one of those chess pieces. It doesn't surprise me at all. You have repatriation of metal. You have massive accumulation of commodities. You have rails being built for payment structures. You have new multipolarity in terms of trade agreements being set up. And, these are big deals. When you look at the BRICS countries and you look at those that are involved, you're talking the majority of human population, 3 of the 4 largest nuclear arsenals on the planet, the majority of trade routes on sea and land, the majority of commodity production and refining and manufacturing. When you add into it now technology being shared to that degree, and in a technology that is revolutionary in terms of the speed of change and augmentation and unification. And this is all done voluntarily. There is no mandate. They do it, cooperatively. Even the name of the largest regional military and financial organization on the planet is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. These countries are all cooperating together to rally against the hegemon of the West and to find safety in numbers. It does not surprise me one bit at all, and you will continue to hear little pieces like this. And the reason it's gotten quiet, you guys, it's not as loud as it was when we started talking about this several years ago, is because the West, which the BIS is a Western institution, and they helped develop Enbridge along with China, Hong Kong, Thailand, UAE, and Saudi Arabia with the Bank of International Settlements Innovation Hub. And at the 12th hour, as they're going to roll it out at the meeting in Russia a year and a half ago, they come out and say, well, we can't, the BIS is pulling the plug on Enbridge. We can't be part of any technology that would allow countries to sidestep Western sanctions. Like they just are pretending that they just realized that Russia was the armed BRICS. And so they pulled out and embarrassed them. And so I think that's why they've kept it on the down low. But you're seeing these things, and they're calling it internationalization of the yuan. What it really is, it's the rails of the BRICS. They're just not trying to antagonize Trump. But these pieces that you continue to add to it, now add AI and cooperative sharing at that, and to things like microchips and whatnot, it's huge, it's massive. And it will just be another piece of an ever-expanding chessboard that those of us that are watching understand.
100%. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. What's happening in real time right now, as this is passing, RT producers are reaching out and they want me to join their show to talk about this thing that's happening right now. But fortunately, that's an hour away, so we're fine. But I'm going to go on RT.
Honor, and a well-deserved honor, Mike. That's awesome.
Well, I'm just going to go on RT and tell the truth that the USA will weaponize AI. If the U.S. has dominance in AI, it's going to do the same thing that it's done in silver and gold and dollars and everything else. It's going to weaponize it. It's going to bully the world into compliance with an agenda that does not serve the best interests of humanity. I'm sorry. I'm not. Look, I love being an American and I love being a Texan and I pray for my country, but I'm also a realist. I understand what's happening here. The weaponization of these systems against humanity is very treacherous, and it really parallels what's happening in metals.
Yeah, it does, and it's true. And you can be a patriot and still lament the system,
yes,
and still love the country. I mean, if you pay attention, it's hard not to. I consider myself a patriot as well. I would do anything for this country. I try to be respectful when I talk about what bothers me, but it doesn't take away the fact that maybe actually you're more of a patriot by saying these things that are whitewashing our culture and the fabric of this country, and unfortunately putting us as a nation in a compromised position when it's a system that's completely and totally based on trust. And you could argue trust and confidence is eroding in the West and in our systems, and that's not a good thing. It's going to bring about a lot of change, and not all of it in the best interest of this country.
Well, the fact is, guys, America weaponized the dollar, so I don't think it should be any surprise that other countries are going to buy body armor, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And we've weaponized the Treasury, so there should be no surprise that gold has surpassed the Treasuries for the first time in percentage ownership by central banks. They own more gold than they do U.S. Treasuries now. And remember, for the first quarter of this year, the most they've ever purchased in one quarter, they lied by a factor of 15. So they probably own a lot more gold than they say they do.
Yeah,
But it just tells you that by official metrics, gold has a greater swath of ownership by central banks than the Treasury.
Now, Andy, I have a silver question for you. And we're still okay on time, right? You have a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So silver, my interpretation of some of what's happening with silver, and I've covered extensively with you the long-term industrial demand for silver will be sky high. That has been diminished temporarily because of the energy shock that's happening with the world right now. Lack of energy makes it very difficult for many factories to operate. So there's not, the lack of natural gas stemming from the war in the Middle East is a factor that's suppressing silver at the moment. However, that's temporary. The other thing, though, and I'd love your input on this, we've seen, we talked last year about how Samsung battery technology will be using silver. That is one manufacturing facility is coming online in 2027. But at the same time, another Chinese company, I don't recall the name, one of the larger solar manufacturers, has been able to begin replacing some amount of silver in solar panels with copper. Now, I don't think they've done that across their entire production line. I'm also curious about the long-term implications. Are those solar panels going to last as long? Because copper doesn't have all the same exact properties of silver. It shares conductivity, obviously, but it's not as efficient, et cetera. So, Andy, what's your take on the industrial supply, the industrial demand, up or down, the war, solar panels, batteries, things like that? Where is this headed in the long run?
Well, first of all, the military applications are not counted in the supply-demand numbers, and the military applications are extraordinary, and no one really knows what those numbers truly are. It was 200 million ounces a year in 1942, according to congressional testimony. They stripped it out of the supply-demand numbers, number one. Number two, we're in 6 years of structural deficit between supply and demand, and that was the same thing during the pandemic when, I would argue, manufacturing globally was shut down. Didn't matter. Number three, there's problems with copper, too. It's becoming harder and harder to find copper, to mine copper, and hence it's getting much more expensive. And then you get China saying, by the way, folks, we're going to limit the export of sulfuric acid, which is the primary component you need in order to mine and refine copper. Silver is primarily a byproduct of mining of, guess what? Copper and lead and zinc, but primarily copper. And silver is found in nature in a form called epithermal, like your skin is epidermis. It's near the surface. The big deposits were found forever ago. So there are very few mines that are primarily or exclusively silver miners. Silver is becoming harder to find. The copper story is real in terms of it becoming more scarce, and then sulfuric acid issues. And there's a lot of things that we're not told about silver, but I would just simply say this. Why would a country like China, who is the second largest producer in the world, why would they import more silver in the first quarter as the price was getting destroyed than ever before? Why would they turn from net exporter last year to net importer this year? Why would they fly to China, from China to Mexico, and strike deals with all of the miners in Mexico and Peru, as many as would take their business, and pay double what the West will for their doré and concentrate and ship it back to China to refine it instead of letting disintermediating the market? So what I'm saying is you make valid points, and I'm sure there will be some fluctuations in there, but silver is an element that is needed in so many, the plurality, I guess is the word, so many different uses, and it's expanding in digital, in green, and in solar panels. And yes, they may have found copper to use some of the, or to take some of that, but it doesn't have the same conductivity properties in light reflection or in heat. It's not even close. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as one may think. It's just another reason almost to deflect the reality of an asset that is depleting in nature and expanding in uses. And you can see it certainly by the way that it's now reclassified as a critical mineral. I think that there's more to it than meets the eye than just solar panels.
Okay, Andy, we're out of time. I want to make sure we give credit to you and your company. MilesFranklin.com is where people can go to find you. And also, you always have a special VIP price list for our listeners. And you and I, we do not have a financial relationship. Just to be clear to people, you're not a sponsor of this show. This is not a paid endorsement. I mean, I do have a financial relationship with Battalion, and I disclose that. But I just want to be clear. We have you on because of your expertise, and we always give you credit. So give out the email address where people can get your special price list.
You know how close I am with the owners of Battalion.
Yes.
Chris is like a brother to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great people.
We go way back together, he and I, further back than anyone I know in this industry. But the best way to get that price list would be info at milesfranklin.com. And we are able to meet or beat any price that's out there. And you can just request the price list. That's updated twice, 3 times per week. And if you find something better, let us know.
Also, can you mention your YouTube channel where you and
Miles
Michelle
Franklin
are
Media.
doing an amazing job?
Thank you. We're up to about 150,000 almost. Miles Franklin Media is the YouTube channel, and I appreciate that. The shameless plug very, very much. And, I mean this. It's an honor to be on with you guys. There are very few people who command the level of respect that you guys do, and I appreciate the invite. And it has nothing to do with any type of affiliate relationship. I'm just honored to be here and do what I can to share the information. That's the thing, much of the stuff I talk about is to people who I never do business with. What goes around comes around in life, and at the end of the day, when we all have to meet our maker and they say, what did you do to make the world better? I will easily say I did everything I could to help as many as I could. And
No question.
Running a good business and trying to do the right thing do not need to be mutually exclusive of one another. So I appreciate this, and I know you view that too, hence having me on. And I appreciate it very much, you guys, and hope to do it again with you.
Well, Andy,
soon.
all I can say is with your wisdom and with your help, I've modified my retirement strategy, and it's very, very simple. I want to accumulate enough metal that my children will require both a forklift and a hernia repair.
Oh, God bless. I would love nothing more. For that, Todd, all I want is for you to show me how to do that card trick.
Okay.
The best card trick I've ever seen in my life, and it blew my mind. To this day, I can't figure it out, but maybe someday you'll show me. But in the meantime, I'll look forward to catching up with you both sometime real soon. And
Excellent.
Again, thanks for having me on, Mike and Todd. I hope you guys stay well, and we'll look forward to chatting again.
Get better.
down the
Get
road.
better, Andy.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. The Rick Rule conference was a like no sleep, kind of a brutal but exciting experience.
Last thing I'm going to say, it was the scariest virus I've ever had in my life. Like, it's just a cold, right? It happened so fast. Within 30 minutes, I'm like, I don't feel good, and then bam! And I'm thinking to myself, boy, if this was something really scary, I was a goner. But I think half the conference, I know Michelle's down and out too, half the conference just got whacked. You got 1,500 people from around the world shaking hands with everyone. Probably not a great idea, but...
Hey, you know what Andy
Anyways.
needs, Todd, is some pine needle tea.
Pine needles.
That's right. So we'll have to get you set up with some shikimic acid from pine trees. But anyway,
God bless you both.
yeah. Thank you, Andy. Always great to see you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, Mike. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Andy. Cheers.
Guys.
All right, and stay tuned, everybody. We will be back, Todd and I will be back with the after-party discussion right after this short break. Take care. If you'd like to help support us, check out all of the affiliate deals I put together for you at rangerdeals.com. And if you go there, you'll see I've done due diligence on all of these affiliates. There's really not that many, but we have partners like Battalion Metals, co-founded by Tucker Carlson, Nessa's Organic CBDA Hemp Extract, Above Phone models that are de-Googled phones, Red Life, here's the peptide company, Limitless, Petmectin, and so much more, including the satellite phone store, VP.net. And for almost all of these, you can use discount code RANGER here, or sometimes it's something else like Brighteon 50, but normally the discount code is RANGER, which will save you something on these deals. Now, we do earn a little bit off of these affiliate deals, but it's no additional cost to you, and it helps support our platform and our work for humanity, including our AI projects that offer free open source knowledge in multiple languages. You can check those out at brightlearn.ai and brightanswers.ai. So thank you for supporting us. Check out rangerdeals.com anytime you want to save money on really high-end products and solutions that I personally endorse. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Thanks for watching. All right, welcome back. This is the after party now here. And Todd, I'm so glad we got to speak with Andy. It's been far too long. And man, that guy knows the industry, doesn't he?
I just sit back here and I'm like, man, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast. And this guy is spouting off all of these facts. No, his mind, well, both you and he are cut from the same cloth. I think you guys both have amazing memories.
Well, thank you for that. I'm so amazed by Andy. It's not just that he's got a grasp of what's happening now, but he's able to project where this is headed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. He's a Wayne Gretzky, man. He skates where the puck is going,
That's
not
right.
where it is.
That's right. And although no one's 100% accurate on every detail, but the broad strokes of where this is going are very clear.
Right. No, people would be wise to listen to him, and know that your gold eagle is now probably worth $136,000. So don't lose it.
If that happens, I'm in good shape.
Yeah. We'll be just fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah.
Fine. Goodness.
Even
that would be amazing, though. Why not? Why not us, man?
Well, I've always said that if you just stack metal and you don't buy it on leverage, and you're not buying the ETFs, you're just buying the physical metal. You're either taking self-custody or you're having it, vaulted in a trusted vault that is not part of the banking system, obviously. Yeah. Like our sponsor, Battalion Metals, they have a vaulting service, but they're not regulated by the federal government banking regulators. Thank God. But either one, self-custody or vault, then you don't have to worry about what the price is up and down, because the number of ounces is still the same every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. People get all swept up in, oh, I lost $5 an ounce today. Did you really? Go check your safe. No, all the metal's still there.
That's just your gold sitting on the sidelines judging fiat. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I like the way you say that. Yeah, very
serious.
much so.
It's like, who cares up or down or whatever? I think it is unwise for people to get into stacking metals with the intent of liquidating them, anytime soon. Right?
Yeah. This is about saving.
Yeah.
And saving, not betting. It's saving over time.
Yeah. Investing in real money, right? That's not a melting ice cube, because that's what the dollar is.
Yeah.
It's just a melting ice cube.
Clearly.
And yeah, Mike, it's like, I do want to say something. I think it would be very, very appropriate and timely, because I wrote an email that went out to about 4,000 people on Tuesday, that was all about gold. And when you stack gold or precious metals and you do need to liquidate them, people need to get familiar with this silent partner that they have at the table, which is the IRS, and the 28% capital gains tax that is going to happen that people don't contemplate.
One thing about what a ripoff that is, because the dollar is being devalued.
Absolutely.
And printed into oblivion. But then when your ounces of gold are expressed in a higher number of dollars, the IRS calls that a gain.
They call it a gain.
It's not a gain.
And guess what? Here's the other thing that people don't, they're going to get it's just like a bunch of cold water thrown on their face at some point in time. This is where they will learn what WTF actually stands for. And it is the fact that if you go into a gold dealer to liquidate, let's say 20 gold eagles, spot price 5,000. So you need to liquidate $100,000 because there's a medical emergency or, life happens, right? Well, it's 28% capital gains tax if you go in as your social security number, right? Because the gold dealer, they have to now start checking boxes. Some of them are even asking for biometrics. They're asking for thumbprints, your ID and social security number. Now, there are some cool ones out there that still aren't, and that's good. I hear it all over the place. But I do want to let you know that when they send that 1099 at the end of the year for that sale, which they inked a check to your name for $100,000, you're going to get a 1099 at the end of the year, and you are going to have to prove your basis. Now, what is basis? Well, let's say that you bought them for $50,000, you sold it for $100,000. That means your capital gains is $50,000. But if you cannot prove your basis, which many of us can't, right? I don't have the invoices from way back when I started stacking, didn't think about it. But when you can't prove your basis, then it's the full Monty.
Oh man, then they're taking almost a third of your
Isn't
gold.
that nuts?
Yeah, that's
Isn't
crazy.
that nuts?
Especially with what the government's doing with that money. So, fortunately, your site, the UNA structure,
That's
gives
right.
people an alternative to this. So that website is my575e.com.
That's right.
And go and tell people how that can help them when they want to sell.
All I'm doing right now, based upon this amazing guest, is telling people that when you have a UNA, there is an alternative to where you're not going to have that 28% silent partner at the table. I can share with you the strategy as to how to lawfully do that. I'm sorry. Can you hear that?
No, I'm only hearing you.
Okay, you're only hearing me. my phone is over there and the alarm's going off. Sorry about that. So
wait, I did hear a voice in my head. It said, I think it's the same voice that Trump has in his head. It said that Iran wants to negotiate and have a deal very badly.
Except on Taco Tuesday.
But I think that's just a market manipulation voice in his head. So
there you go.
Continue.
So anyway, just to complete the thought is, people, if you are stacking metal, you'd be wise to learn about the CP575E and go to my575e.com. Hit let's go, watch the 90-minute video that I have of Dennis, who is 83 years old, and he's been helping people acquire these for over 40 years. And I have a place in there right below the video where you can book a private consultation with me, and I will walk through and explain everything in great detail. And all I'm saying is there is a way that you aren't going to, let me just say, get hosed, Mike.
Well, yeah, because the gold is no longer.
You don't own it.
Yeah, you don't own it. Yeah.
Yeah, when Nelson Rockefeller coined the phrase "own nothing, control everything," I think it should be read better phrase: personally own nothing and personally control everything. Adding personally into that, I think, makes it even better. But yeah, it is just an amazing entity. I've helped over 700 people acquire these in the last 3 years, Mike, as you know, and we have a private Telegram group of over 600 people. And I just invite people to become educated.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Okay, very cool. And then from my desk, we are sponsored by my online store, healthrangerstore.com. And we bought up many tons, literally tons of food in March and raw materials. And then we've been manufacturing products. We have a warehouse full of food that is pre-fallout food because the nuclear war hasn't started yet. So this is all pre-fallout food. It's almost all certified organic, laboratory tested, high nutrient density, ultra clean food. We've got it in long-term storable formats. Some of it's freeze-dried, some of it's in Ranger buckets, mega buckets, mini buckets. There's no garbage in it, no GMOs, no, textured soy protein garbage. So check all that out at healthrangerstore.com if you want to help support the show. And yeah.
Yeah, I do have one final question that I was going to ask during our after party. I crafted it just for you, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, Mike.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather trust your financial future to a central banker, a casino dealer, or Mike, the guy operating the claw machine at an arcade?
Probably the guy at the arcade. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. At least there's a chance,
He's handy. He's handy.
Yeah, he knows how to get the little stuffed animals out of there. Good point. And look, the bottom line in what we teach on this show is living in a more decentralized manner.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage the audience to check out all the other episodes at decentralized.tv. And there are a lot of great episodes that are already published, and there are more coming. And we've got some great guests lined up, as you know. I mean, they just keep getting more and more amazing. And also, we recently interviewed Tucker Carlson on the show.
So great.
That's
so
posted. And we had a great time with Tucker.
Yeah, we did.
A lot of laughs. He's got a great sense of humor.
He does. The feedback from everybody is he not just comes across. He is one of the most authentic people that you'll ever meet.
Yeah. He is. He's genuine.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Tucker for a long time, and he's just gotten even better and better over all the years. So anyway, there you go. Decentralized.tv is the website. There you go. And all the episodes are posted there, including the Zach Adams effect, as you can see. So check it all out. And thank you all for joining us today. I'm Mike Adams and Todd Pittner. Thanks, Todd. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you. All right. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.